One of the many questions that humanity asks themselves is, what is our purpose in the world? And despite the near infinite times we asked ourselves, we never found an actual answer. It always gets into the subjective realm that is molded from your own beliefs. And right off the bat, I want to clarify that I'm not saying that this belief is wrong. One of the things that most of the quote unquote answers that I may have heard about the subject have in common is a fundamental point, which is, are you fulfilling something? When asked about it, the majority of people tend to think of some important or grand achievements that they have done or something very meaningful in their lives. But does it need to be limited to just that? And who could have thought that in 2023, the year that we had the nth iteration of the generic video game RPG fantasy anime of the season, we will have a gem that will make us reflect about our own purpose and the feeling of fulfillment. So, let's talk about what makes Frieren narrative, storytelling, and character development so interesting and fascinating. Disclaimer, this is not a review or like quote unquote introduction to the anime. These are only my thoughts about some of the topics that the show talks about and meanings that I found through the entire show while watching it. If you want to watch it without spoilers, I highly recommend you to watch it first and then after finishing watch this video. Since some topics may have some spoilers in it, depending on how blind you want to go for the show. So after here, from here on out, you're on your own. That's my spoiler alert. One of the main topics of the entire show is the fact that being an elf, Frieren lives for a long time, way longer than the other races, especially humans. Because of her long lifespan, Frieren has a different perception of time. Decades feel like minutes and centuries feel like a few years. Her decade-old journey with Himmel's party feels like just a breeze in her long life, which brings this concept of the passage of time and how we don't perceive our own daily life passing by. In a society where we are connected with each other 24 hours per day through the internet and are constantly getting bombarded with different types of information from different sources, humanity could be considered globalized and comprehensive of each other like never seen before. But in reality, even though we're connected and can talk to different people from across the world, we couldn't be more separated, not only on the physical aspect. The current society demands a lot of its individuals. So, like almost every hour of every day we are worried about something, may it be work or our own personal problems. So that we can constantly forget to stop and meet new people, have a conversation, understand each other's feelings and thoughts, and when you notice, a year has gone by, and then 2, 3, 5 years, a decade passes and you didn't notice it. And that is exactly the point that Frieren spotlights. Time passes, and if you're not aware of it, you may regret it in the future. In this show, Frieren treats her journey with Himmel as a mere decade, which for her probably feels like a few months for humans at least. 80 years later, she goes to the city to visit her former party member and friend Himmel, just to find out that he is a human, aged drastically, and is in the last moments of his life actually. After his burial, Frieren starts to cry in frustration and tells her other friends how, despite spending 10 years traveling together, how come she didn't know anything about him. After that, when separating with her friends, she says that she will travel to other places to learn and understand other people, implying that she's eager to learn what about human feelings and how they deal with their short lifespan, which takes us to the real start of the anime. One of my favorite quotes in the entire show is the observation that Frieren makes towards humans and their determination and hardness to do and accomplish things. Of course, as a long-living being, you wouldn't worry about accomplishing and making things as soon as possible. After all, you still have a lot of time to spare before committing to one thing. It doesn't matter when you do it, you still have the time for it. But humans don't have this privilege. We can't afford to waste time if we want to accomplish something. We live too little in comparison. A little bit shorter than a century at best is the time that we have to do the things we want and need to do. Which makes us think about that old question. Would you like to be immortal? At first glance, it's a great deal. You wouldn't have to care about death, worry about doing things quickly, getting anxious about stuff. It's incredible. But if we stop and think about it, is it really that great of a deal? People that you know and Our friends will pass away, people that we will know in the future will also come and go. With that many feelings taken into account, would you still be immortal? Of course, there's not a correct answer for that, but Frieren shows that ruminating those thoughts over and over is not a good thing, but instead, enjoy your life in the present. Which brings us to the other topic that Frieren touches that I love about purpose. By definition, purpose is the reason for which something is done, created, or for which something exists. It is why we do things, create, and act the way we do. So, looking back at the show, would you be able to tell what are the characters' purpose for their adventure? It seems like an easy question when it comes to, for example, Himmel. Himmel wants to become a hero and defeat the Demon King, but what about the others? Hyder and Aizen are just there. They don't have much information about it. They're just going on this adventure because they believe that Himmel will defeat the Demon King and they should help in this adventure, some sort of divine call. And Frieren is there because, like Hyder and Aizen, Himmel invited her to go with them and she accepted. None of them have a grandiose, heroic motivation that pushes them forward to fight evil. They're just there because they thought it would be a good adventure, or they should go. Purpose, motivation, intention. All of them don't necessarily need to be majestic, heroic, or far from reach to make certain decisions or actions meaningful or comprehensible. They just need to be reasonable enough, so you can start something and keep going with it. Which is something that Frieren doesn't understand until later in the show when Himmel passes away and she noticed that time went by and she attained nothing meaningful for her personally. And that's something that can also be hinted by the original title for the show. If we take a look at the Japanese name for the show, we're able to notice one thing that may have been overlooked by the Western audience and those who don't speak or read Japanese. That is the way the title is written. The original name of this show is Sousou no Frieren, Frieren being the Japanese pronunciation of the name of the protagonist Frieren, and no being a particle that means possession or ownership of something. So, what is Frieren owns? What is in the possession of Frieren? Is the last word that is missing. We have this word right here that is pronounced Sousou. If you look at the meaning of it on Google, Jishos, and etc. on the dictionary, you'll find that it means the burial of someone's remains, observing a burial or attending a funeral procession. Which, if you stop and look at it, is what happens in the first episode of the show with the funeral Sousou of Himmel, the hero. And death is a very abstract concept for a lot of people. And funerals are often where the subject appears. For various reasons, each person has their own understanding of death. What it is, what happens next. Funerals are a moment where the people that were so endearing and important for the dead gather and recall of the moments that they went through together. Difficult times, amusing moments, everything was a piece of their life together and an influence on one another. In the show, Frieren sees their realization as a first step to her new purpose, learning about people and their own unique lives, while gathering spells in the meantime. She finished her previous purpose of defeating the Demon King. Now she found another one, and like I said before, it doesn't need to be grandiose. It just needs to be reasonable enough to make you start it. And then the narrator subtly and skillfully starts their moves to show you that exact concept of finding a purpose for your life and going towards it. From that Frieren's new adventure forward in the show, you're able to notice a certain contrast from her previous adventure. Most of the people find a meaningful reason to go on an adventure, and they just go. Frieren wants to turn into a mage because of Hyder, who saved her from being abandoned and being in a miserable situation. Stark wants to have stories of his adventure to tell his master when he comes back. And that contrast shows Frieren how an adventure can be fun by simply enjoying the moment. From fighting strong enemies to helping villagers with harvesting, exploring every corner of a threatening dungeon to playing in a field of flowers. Every moment is a moment and a piece of this giant puzzle that is life. It may be just a tiny piece, but it's meaningful and important to complete this gigantic puzzle. You don't need to have complete this puzzle as your main purpose in life. You just need to have a purpose so you can drive yourself forward to look for more pieces out there, like going somewhere or doing something. So, in the end, you can look back to yourself from the past. You can notice all these changes and see how much you develop and see what you still have to learn about life. Nowadays, things are happening pretty fast. Everything is very quick. We let go of things almost at the same speed that we get them. With a simple click of your mouse or one tap on your phone, you have the entire world's worth of information at your reach. And with that infinite number of possibilities being absorbed by your brain, you find yourself exhausted by pressure, expectations, overload of informations that stop coming only from nearby sources like family and parents, and starts coming also from faraway places, news articles, social network demands, and etc. And with that, we forget to enjoy the moment that we live in. Find something that we think it's fun and do it. Learn something that you want to learn because it's interesting. Talk with people because it's a new experience. That's why I think shows like Frieren are important. A show that you may watch without much expectations and end up with a shaking, reminding of what is really living life. And most importantly, am I enjoying it?